So, first of all, what is a whataboutism? A whataboutism is attempts to discredit an opponent's position with charging hypocrisy without directly refuting or disapproving the argument. This term got famous through Soviet Union and Russia. So an example would be the West would accuse the Soviet Union of poverty. The West, America, England, France, whatever, would say the Soviet Union has issues due to their central economy, and it has caused a huge abundance of poverty bad. And then the Soviet Union would say, well, what about racism in America? That would be their refute. So that would be an example of whataboutery. The Soviet propagandists during the Cold War would train as a tactic that their Western interlocutors named whataboutery. Any criticism of the Soviet Union was met with a what about? What about apartheid in South Africa? What about jailed trade unionists? What about Contras in Nicaragua? And so forth. Lucas recommended two methods of properly cornering whataboutery: to use points made by the Soviet leaders themselves, so they cannot apply to the West, and for Western nations to engage in more self-criticism of their own media and government. So what I've noticed quite frequently with the Ukraine-Russia situation is that when aggression is mentioned to the Russians, like why did Russia invade Ukraine? Russia bad, Putin bad. The response to the opposition is, what about expansion of NATO? And that is an example of whataboutery. You are no longer addressing the argument in question. You've moved on to a separate topic to talk about the accusations of hypocrisy on the other side. And I think it's important to know about whataboutery because I think it can lead you down paths where you're no longer talking about a set topic anymore. You're constantly jumping between topic and topic and not really dealing with a topic that has been addressed. So I was watching Tommy's live stream, and of course he was talking about the Ukraine-Russia situation, and every single criticism of Russia or the East or Putin was always addressed with a whataboutery every single time. What about NATO expansion? What about America's involvement in placing missiles in different areas of the world, etc., etc. I'm not trying to vouch for one side or the other here, but you understand when you engage a whataboutery, you're no longer having a discussion about a certain thing anymore. You are constantly knocking the ball back and forth. So if you find someone who is engaging with whataboutery, it makes me think when someone does that they're not really capable of having the conversation. And I don't mind having a conversation about NATO expansion and Western antagonizing the East. I don't mind having that conversation, but that is a separate conversation. There need to be separate two conversations, and they can't be overlapping each other. All right.
Greetings, comrades, and welcome to the Soviet Union.
Yay!
It's 1978, and things are going great. Our vast empire may cover 1/6 of the world's landmass, but most of it is an uninhabitable wasteland. Because everything is created by state-run industry, nearly every advert is just letting me know about the local availability of certain products. Like this funky ski-themed number, telling me that lemons are here and they're fun for the whole family. And because of our dear leader, Leonid Brezhnev. I haven't seen him a lot on my television lately, and there's rumours that he's sick, but I'm sure he's just busy. After all, our brave Soviet troops are currently fighting extremists in Afghanistan, who you might know as the good guys from Rambo 3 or the bad guys from 9/11. I'm sure they'll be no match for our mighty Red Army. I mean, they haven't been stockpiling nuclear weapons and guarding German concrete for nothing, right? Thanks to military overstretch and our barely functional factories, we don't have quite as many consumer products as people in the West, and the ones that are produced are usually snatched from the factories by corrupt officials before they even reach the shelves. So the only place that I see many of these products are on TV. Like this bizarrely erotic carpet advert that looks like it was filmed next to a load of sewage runoff. In 1982, I see Brezhnev on my screen again. He's alive and raring to go at our annual October Revolution March, which is confusingly held in November. And then we see Brezhnev again just 3 weeks later, at his own funeral. After Brezhnev went up to the great gulag in the sky, we were left with a bunch of leaders that looked about as fresh as the ones that we'd embalmed and put on public display in the 1920s. First comes Yuri Andropov, a familiar face, and plus his hairline was comforting, as it was proof that something was recessing worse than our economy. He dies 15 months into his leadership, and then is replaced by the even older Konstantin Chernenko, seen here adopting the T-pose to assert dominance.
I never knew how unbelievably fucked the Soviet Union was prior to its collapse. That explains the collapse, doesn't it?
But then he keels over just 13 months later. By 1985, we needed someone with some fresh blood. We were introduced to the new General Secretary of the Communist Party, the Gremlin in the Kremlin, Mikhail Gorbachev. At a sprightly 56, Gorby is young and his head is covered in ideas. Maybe this guy can change things, if he can get his plans approved by the country's real leaders, the KGB. KGB stands for Komitet Gosterovanoi Bezopastoyi. They are a highly sophisticated secret police and surveillance network, employing over 500,000 people, including this handsome KGB agent who's currently stationed in East Germany. Much of the Soviet Union's video work and commercials come from the same place, the satellite state of Estonia. And most of the ads that I'm showing you come from the mind of one crazed Estonian ad director, Harry Egypt.
I've got a serious question here. If all the products state produced, what's the point of advertisements for them? I don't understand. I can understand promoting a new product, maybe, to try and oil the gears to get the production going. But what's the point? I don't get it. They're just trying to copy off the West to try and mimic them? I don't know.
And perhaps our hip young leader Mikhail Gorbachev was watching these commercials when he decided to bring widespread reform to our nation. It was already perfect, and he was about to improve it. The whole of the USSR got a light dusting of democracy, as a few party officials were directly elected for the first time. They don't have much responsibility, but they exist. And this empowers ordinary people to feel like that they can actually criticize the current system. Hey, what's going on?
An official announcement from the Council of Ministers. There has been an accident at the Chernobyl atomic power station. One of the atomic reactors was damaged. The consequences of the accident are being taken care of.
Huh. Well, that was short. I'm sure they've got everything under control. 3 days later, we're told that everything's under control, and that foreign reports of the death count have been greatly exaggerated. See? Nothing to worry about. The lesson here is that you can solve any problem if you throw enough helicopters and human suffering at it. You know, I'm starting to think these fuckers are lying to me. The Chernobyl disaster really undermined confidence in the Soviet Union, both internally and externally. On top of that, we're still fighting in Afghanistan. Apparently, someone armed those extremists with a bargain bucket of anti-aircraft missiles.
Whoa, who could have done
And now I think
that?
about it generally, this whole communism thing is starting to look a little creaky. I watch commercials for cars and speedboats that I'll never be able to afford. I don't really feel like going to work, and a lot of people agree with me. I'd rather just sit back and watch TV. And there I can see that some of my countrymen are being a bit more proactive. Because, I mean, if you're not working, I guess you might as well be protesting. There are strikes and demonstrations across the Soviet Union, especially in the Baltic states like Estonia. But unlike our previous leaders, Gorby isn't as enthusiastic about transforming protesters into a cloud of pink mist. With uprisings going conspicuously uncrushed, people are emboldened. On TV, I even get to see someone directly heckle Gorbachev. Yo, fuck 12, fuck the KGB. And I'm also seeing a lot more of this guy, a barely functional alcoholic known as Boris Yeltsin.
Oh man, this video, guys, is so good. Honestly, it's so good. This is one part of history that I have no real recollection of, and it happened in my lifetime. I was alive when the Soviet Union collapsed, okay? I was born and the Soviet Union was at its fucking peak. So, for me, this is like connecting all the dots in my mind, you know?
Who now holds public office in Moscow. He doesn't have much real power, but that's probably a good thing because he's always about 2 bottles deep. But I like what this Boris has to say, and so do a lot of people, including these guys. In the same year that the USSR triumphantly retreated from Afghanistan, it also shrewdly decided to let protesters tear down the Berlin Wall. And we're all pretty much glad to see it go. That thing was an eyesore. It was also really expensive to run. And, you know, freedom, openness, blah, 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 whatever. After being drip-fed capitalism for the better part of a decade, we were ready for the all-you-can-eat buffet. Moscow got its first McDonald's in 1990, and it drew crowds that we hadn't seen since that morning's breadline. But the boys over at the KGB weren't as excited about all these reforms. They started seeing their central power getting sapped away, and they blamed Gorbachev. Hey, and maybe they had a point. Maybe we were all a little overstimulated from all these new products, and to be honest, that chicken advert probably didn't help. Maybe what we all needed was another continuous loop of Swan Lake. This is what is playing on every television in the Soviet Union, as the KGB and the Red Army do what Russia does best. A good old-fashioned coup. They join forces specifically to take us back to the glory days of gulags and gout. When the news returns, Gorbachev is nowhere to be seen, and it's pretty difficult for the newsreaders to pretend everything is normal when there are hundreds of tanks rolling on Red Square. When our new leaders show themselves, they look like a bunch of grey-suited clones. They tell us that Gorby has come down with a nasty case of flu. No one takes these people seriously. They're anonymous. They're nobodies. I haven't seen them on my TV before, but I have seen this guy. On the day of the coup, Boris Yeltsin sobered up for long enough to jump on a tank in Red Square and give a rousing speech.
Изоляции Советского Союза от мирового сообщества. Все это заставляет нас объявить незаконным пришедших.
He calls for an open-ended general strike to protest the coup, which suited me because I stopped going to work years ago. Just 3 days later, the coup fails. Gorbachev is back and he's appearing alongside Yeltsin.
So let me just get those events. So the military attempted to coup the government, but the people all went on strike until the coup stepped down. Is that correct? Did I understand that?
On Christmas Day 1991, it's over. Despite all his reforms, Mikhail Gorbachev resigns from office in disgrace. But he does get to live every underappreciated worker's dream and set fire to the whole place on his way out. He announces the dissolution of the Soviet Union and the rise of the Russian Federation. The Soviet flag is lowered from the Kremlin for the last time. I watched this ritual on TV and it's strange to outlive the country you were born into. Like watching the walls of your childhood bedroom dissolve into air. Surely, after this, nothing can be the same. Greetings, fellow capitalist pigs! Welcome to the Russian Federation. It's 1998 and things are going great. Our currency might be worthless, but we're propping up our economy by pumping dinosaur sauce out of Siberia and dumping guns off the coast of Liberia. I haven't been seeing much of our brave president Boris Yeltsin on TV recently. There's rumours that he's sick, but I'm sure he's just busy. The last time I saw him, he was getting loaded with some American pervert. Even the KGB got into the capitalist swing of things. Doing a successful rebrand in the mid-90s, they're now known as the FSB and are led by this guy. What's his name? Wait, actually, he's Prime Minister now. But life moves pretty fast in capitalist Russia. We've now got more luxury brands than you can shake a stick at. Only the oligarchs can afford them, but at least I can see them on my new Japanese TV. And I can see commercials for American businesses like Pizza Hut. But I'll admit, I do have some nostalgia for the old days. Wait a minute, is that Gorby? It's you! Wow, life is good. What more could I possibly want? I hope nothing ever changes.
That was actually really good. That I really enjoyed that. The only bit that I would like to know more information about is like the part where it went from the Soviet Union to the Russian Federation. Why couldn't they just have reformed the Soviet Union? I feel like I'm answering my own question here, but I feel like the Soviet Union had principles of state ownership, state capitalism, and the idea of communism. The idea, I specifically emphasize that. And the idea of becoming just Russia, but keeping all of those ideals wasn't actually possible. Maybe that's the understanding behind it. Yeltsin was president of Russia, not the Soviet Union. And when he crushed the coup, Russia became more powerful than the Soviet Union. So a lot of the small SSRs used the opportunity to declare independence. By the time the Soviet government had regained anything to assemble power, the Soviet Union had shrunk to Russia and Kazakhstan, so it made no sense to reform it instead of just splitting it up and using the existing Russian government. That is a really, really good answer. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. So basically, when the coup happened, that's when all the breakaway states happened. At that point, I guess it was no going back, was it? You were fucked. But by the way, guys, if you want to talk about Russia or Ukraine, try and not engage in whataboutery. If you want to talk about NATO, let's talk about NATO. If you want to talk about Russia, let's talk about Russia. Let's not engage in whataboutery. Let's keep on topic and let's talk about that topic. If you don't want to have that conversation, then don't have that conversation. There's no need to engage in whataboutery. Everyone who loved this video also loved this one. Give it a click.